When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Sing it with me. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, when I breathe.
I've been in church most all my life. I can probably count the times on one hand that I wasn't in church on Sunday morning. And because it was our entire life. I don't want to go to Mars. I'd like to go to Maui, and I love spending eternity in Maui. But it's always, I don't care where I am, and I've been in anywhere from synagogues to mosques, not on Sundays, but I've been in the mosques, and I love Indian or Native American spirituality. I love certain aspects of Hinduism and Buddhism and Christianity. I love all the different pursuits that humans have made toward some sense of divinity. And I do believe that one of the reasons I'm on the planet in my latter years, the last half of my life, is to help bridge science and spirituality, humanity and divinity. I think they work together. I don't think they oppose each other in any way. And I've never been more delighted to be a part of a bridge. I think part of what we do here at All Souls, what we're evolving to, the reason that Pastor Marlon and I have come together and merged our congregations and our consciousness, is to create something or be a part of the creation of something new and fresh. He took a trip to the gathering place just within walking distance of our property. And he was pretty impressed by it, as I'm not at all surprised. That's a place that's almost at the quality of Disneyland or Disney World. And I was at Disneyland last week in California. Haven't been there in I don't know how many years. I went the first time when I was 14. The 8th grade teacher at my junior high school took about 4 or 5 of the underprivileged children, one of which I was, to Disneyland. My mother and dad had 6 children, never even thought about going to Disneyland because we couldn't afford the tickets for all 6 of us, but he did. And I remember how it's changed over the years, but I saw something there called Soarin'. And if you ever get out there, you need to see it. It's sort of a frightening, a little bit of a thrill. You sit in a row of chairs that swing, and the lights go out and the big screen is in front of you. Then the whole swing goes toward the big sky, and the sky becomes Egypt or Alaska or San Francisco or Hawaii, and you're way high and you're zooming through these places, and maybe a big dust storm will burst and you'll literally smell the dust, and then you're on the other side in Hawaii, and a volcano will erupt and you'll feel the heat, and then you'll go. And I was almost in tears when I got through. It is like dying and going to going to heaven, going to Maui. And I thought, if we ought to have a field trip just for everybody to go out there just for that one experience. Then I rode a couple of rides. Majesty wanted to do all that. She likes the most frightening rides. And so Gina never does the scary stuff, and Julian doesn't like it as much, but Majesty and I, we're the risk takers. And we were doing that. And I thought, here I am, 65 years old, and I'm as thrilled as a kid. One of them was, you drop, you go up a few steps and you drop. And Julian used to say when they were children, we'd drive them down a hill, they'd go, that makes my stomach go down. And I called him that, and I said, my stomach just went down. And I don't know when it's going to come back up, because it takes a little longer for it to get back up these days. And I was so fascinated by the exhilaration I felt as a human being. And the world is shifting and things are changing and the crowds were there and it was multicultural and everybody was having fun and everybody loved the thrill and loved the heights. But I was especially impressed with the heights. We saw hawks and eagles flying around us up there. And you'd go on the top of a mountain and then you'd see polar bears in Alaska. And it was just literally like you're there. I could see them almost clearer than I can see you. And I forgot about being afraid. I was so excited about what I was seeing. The heights, and I'm not necessarily afraid of heights. I love heights. I named my ministry Higher Dimensions years ago. So I like higher consciousness, but you see things differently and how orderly things are when you're above. The first time I took an airplane flight and I could see the land, how the cities and streets were all lined out in perfect squares and perfect lines. And I thought, and it's everywhere in the world. It's not just here. It's so fascinating how vision is different when you see it from an elevated consciousness. And the higher you get in consciousness, as we like to say, your altitude will determine, or your attitude will determine your altitude, how high you get and how you can see the panoramic views and how beautiful life really is and how orderly it is when you're in the higher consciousness. The lower you get, the more confusing it seems. You see the walls and the blockages and the intersections, you hear sounds and things, but as you elevate, and sometimes when I'm here, this service particularly today has been one of those elevating times when the trumpets took me someplace, and of course I saw the video, I heard Marlon in the last service, and I've seen that video, and I like soaring. I'm sort of spaced out today. And I ain't high on nothing but a little bit of coffee I had this morning before I came. So I'm thinking about new age, new birth, those terms. I've always been familiar with the new birth. That was the whole born-again consciousness of the fundamentalist Christian ideologies. And then the new age was something they shunned. Jesus is quoted to have said in Scripture, I am with you to the end of the age. Behold, I'm with you always till the end of the age. The King James mistranslates it to the end of the world, but there's no such term in the Scriptures as end of the cosmos. It's only end of the aeon, which is our English word eon, which is a designated period of time. There are various ages and periods and seasons and sessions in time and in our lives that we must adjust to as they come. It's been a very hot summer, and they are said today that there are going to be a few more warm days, very hot days, and it's going to start cooling down, getting ready for the fall. I'm always ready for the fall when it comes. And I'm also ready for the winter when it comes. I like it when it comes. I like when it goes. And same with spring. I love when spring arrives. I love when it evolves into summer because summer just going to, I think it's going to be more clear sunlight. I like the heat for a while. Then I like for it to die off and go into the fall. And I love the seasons of life. I don't protest any of them. I just adjust to all of them. I don't fuss at the winter. I don't fuss at the summer. I'm not upset about the sun. Thank God we have air conditioning. And if you don't, you at least have a shade and a fan. San Diego and we've been staying at a home out there that our friends of ours that let us house sit. It's right near the beach, and Pacific Ocean is my favorite body of water on the planet. And I put some of my dad's ashes in the Pacific. He loved to swim. I watched him learn how to swim, teaching himself. And I love the Pacific Ocean. I grew up out there, and so we're near that. And there's water, and there's trees, and there's sunlight, and there's a certain energy out there that energizes me and re-energizes me. And where we stay, we can see the beach from our place. And it's lovely, and it's high, and it makes me reminisce. So many people have all these various transitions. The esteemed Senator McCain, who we have such great respect for, made his transition, and the whole country is sort of in mourning because he was a great man who loved people and bridged people and did what he did out of his heart, having gone through being captivated, been captured for 5 years of torture, and they're only telling us how vile it was, how vicious it was, and how rich and how much virtue he had. I'm going next week to Detroit, Michigan, to a woman whose voice is called a national treasure, Aretha Franklin, whom I got to appear with 5 or 6 times on stage. The first time was at Madison Square Garden. There's a rare experience when the phone rings and you pick it up and it says, I said, hello. And she says, Bishop. She says, Reverend Pearson. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, this is Aretha. And I said, Aretha who? Is this a joke? I mean, she literally called me herself and invited me to meet her on the stage at Madison Square Garden the night before Whitney Houston's memorial service in Baltimore, and there was in the crowd Clive Davison, L.A. Reid, and Monty, and the last one I did with her was in California, in Nokia, and Halle Berry was sitting right on the front row. So that's totally beside the point. But anyway, I remember singing with her and feeling with her and emoting and having the brief conversations we had about voice and about sound. She loved inclusion. She loved upward thinking. She wanted to know more about it. And we talked a little bit about her father. I happen to know the man that owns the film rights to the movie, to her most highest sold gospel albums called Amazing Grace in James Cleveland's church in Los Angeles. I know some of the people who were in the choir. So I'm reminiscing. She's gone now. The senator is gone. He was 81. She was 76. My dad's gone. My mom's 88. I go to my hometown, nobody there. All of the pillars and pillows just about are gone, but maybe 2 or 3. The great souls that influenced my life when I didn't even know myself, they're all gone. I have to fly over the cemetery every time I go into San Diego. Literally, when I fly in, I fly over the cemetery and my high school. And of course, I have 10 zillion memories and thoughts. And I keep asking myself, as we often do when we're conscious, why am I here? How have I survived life this long? I'm a cancer survivor. And I remember talking to Aretha about it. And even though Aretha smoked for many years, we were discussing throat therapy, she treats her throat, because I have had trouble with my vocal cords for the last 10 years. I've not been able to sing normally. It's been like going through an amputation. She's never had surgery, not once, on her throat. Though one time she had nodules and pus and things on her vocal cords, but she never had the surgery, never wanted the surgery. She's had cancer 3 or 4 different times. Her sister, her mother, they all made their transition through cancer, and she fought it off 3 times. We had a feeling that this time, the last time I was with her on stage, she said to me, and she doesn't always do this, she walked onto the stage and she just said, because I come out during the break, and she took a longer break than she thought she was going to take, because what she wanted wasn't where she needed it. And finally she got up there and she said to me, I love you very much. That's the first time she'd ever said that to me in that light. I love you very much. And I had a feeling, I think I told David was with me, I said, I think that may be the last time that I performed with her on stage. And it was. We talked between now and then. What are these transitions? What transitions are taking place in your life? How do you estimate them? How do they make you feel about you? What are you still doing here? And I often say in memorial service, especially when it's someone young, the question is not why this person is gone, but why are we still here? What is the purpose? I always say, you ain't dead because you ain't done. That sounds a little rough. Turn to them and say, you ain't dead because you ain't done. I didn't say dumb, I said done. I've been doing a research on astral theology. Aster is the Greek word for star. Theology is the God logic, God thought and God talk, the logistics of the divine, or the logic of divine mind. Astral theology. Astros the star. We are pastoring in a pastor, sheep and shepherds. That's what the term in English comes from, the idea of the upward-looking one, or anthropos in Greek. Many sheep were watching their flock at night because that's when the predators were more numerous. And so they spent many times staring and gazing into the skies. And they saw stars. And as Pastor brought out already this morning, we are 97% made of the same chemicals and substance that stars are. That's why they say sometimes that we are made of stardust, that we began at stardust, that we are 80% water presently. We're about 50% when we're 80% when we're born, and we're about 50 to 60% when we're adults. Our brain remains 80% water. We swim for 9 months in water, the first 9 months of our lives. We literally swim. How we breathe is still a mystery unless you do the research. How can we come out here like little fish, swimming around in water, most of which by the time we're born is urine, ours? We hear the sounds and vibrations of our mom's voice if she coughs, if she eats, if she laughs, if she cries, if she has an argument with our father, if she's pregnant out of wedlock and the man doesn't want the child and they scream about it. The child feels that and sometimes comes here feeling unwanted or at least unwelcomed. Sometimes that follows us all our lives because the vibrations and the energies and the thoughts and the moisture or the mist or the mysteries, or the myth stories. Astrology is the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies, interpreted as having influence on human affairs and on the natural world. That's astral theology is birthed out of people researching how religion started on this planet. This is Sun Day. Tomorrow is Moon Day. Yesterday was Saturn Day. We've always, and we are fertility religions, whether we know it or not. We're always thinking of ways to relate to the environment to which we are inextricably connected, and science is beginning to prove that to us more and more. We are really Unitarian in ways spiritually that we don't always capture intellectually. We are really one with everything that is. We're constantly evolving, constantly changing. They're telling us that 90% of the dust in anybody's home is human skin. You're constantly shedding skin like a serpent. We're constantly changing and challenging. Now, I explained to you that once that shedding skin, that's what we call ash in the morning. You know, your elbows, your heels, some of them heels is ash all day long, not just in the morning. People of the darker hue, with a different kind of melanin, you can see ours more clearly. White folks, you got it too, but you just can't see it. You're more like it, see? I can't see your rust as much as you see mine. My grandfather, my mother's father, very, very dark complected. His hands were so white in the morning, it looked like he was wearing white gloves as an usher in church, you know, because it's that ash. But we take lotion and we cover the ash, or we cover the skin up. But sometimes that just clogs the pores. What we really need is an exfoliant to scrape that dead skin off. You have new skin every 29 days or so. And your organs are shifting, and you're changing, and you're evolving. You become a new person, you get a new birth, and you enter a new age quite regularly. You enter a new period. We are having to accept the fact that we are living in a new age. I often bring up the idea of my iPad, my iPhone, my iCloud, the apple with a bite out of it on the front of this thing, and this is my tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And I've become like gods. As the scripture says, they have now eaten of that tree, or truth. That knowledge means science, the science of good. There's a science to good. There's a science to evil. And evil in creation may not be the way we estimate it to be. There's good as evil and good and evil. And there's evil and good and evil as good. Depends on how you interpret it, as Martin said earlier, how you perceive it. Perception is the ultimate reality, but not necessarily the ultimate truth. We all deal with our perceptions, and we develop opinions from the word ophthalmos, Greek for ops, eyes. Opinions and options based on how we see. Ophthalmology, optometrists. It's about visions and views and perceptions. And so in this whole logic, and for decades, science popularizers have said that humans are made of stardust. And now a new survey of 150,000 stars shows just how true the old cliche is. The 6 most common elements of life on Earth, including more than 97% of the mass of human body, of your human body: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. Those are the same elements that are abundant in the center of the galaxy. We really are one. We're always looking up, thinking up, feeling up, getting up, standing up, staying up, sometimes too late, starting up. None of us likes the downtime too long. I like it when it's there, but then I got to get up. It's about rising. It's about elevating our consciousness, about thinking about how we're going to survive this life and maybe one after this. If there's another overlapping universe, some other parallel existences. Jesus says that, is quoted as saying in scripture, in my Father's house, there are many mansions, but that really means there are many dimensions and places and phases and levels and spaces and spheres. They're different. We're not just multidimensional, we're interdimensional beings, and we all know that we have these dreams that seem so real. We have these experiences where we seem to go someplace mentally or consciously. We're in one place physically, and they say, wake up, Earth to whoever you are, Earth to Carlton. Where was I? Have you ever been driving down the street and in your car and you went 3 or 4 blocks or miles and don't remember stopping or start any red lights or green lights or yellow lights, and nothing brings it to your attention to the bright lights behind you from the police officer pulling you over? There have been many times I get in my car, this has happened many times for years, and I'm going somewhere. In consciousness, I'm in a total other place, and I don't remember ever stopping or seeing yellow, green, or red. And I don't, at the moment, remember where I'm going. I just know that I'm going. Then I'd say, was I going to the store, the post office? Was I going to church? What was I? I went somewhere. Have you ever been somewhere? You slipped into another place. You get up in the morning, you get ready to call your grandmother who's been gone since 1964, or your aunt who's been gone the last 5 or 6 years, or a friend. It's almost as if they are there and you can talk to them. I remember coming out of this, what we used to call the City of Faith. Now it's the Metro, the Cityplex. I had surgery there about 3 years ago, and Jen and I got in the car, and I was so touched by the fact that the hospital, I was on the executive board, and everything failed. We had to shut our medical school and shut the hospital down, and we had 5 football floors of floor space. 5 football fields of floor space under one roof, and we'd spent $250 million to build it, and it was so crushing at that period for us to lose it. And I remember I came out of the surgery, and everybody was so nice. There were nurses and doctors, and most of them knew me, and most of them were Tulsa natives, and many of them were Christians and goes to the different churches. And they were saying Bishop Pearson or hi, Pastor Pearson or something like. A lot of my members were there, and I got out into the car, and I picked up my cell phone. I said, I'm going to call Oral and tell him the dream is working. And I literally picked up the phone to call. And then I remember, and I burst into tears. He wasn't there, but the dream still lived on. Not his particular identical brand, but life goes on. We all are participants in a larger plan. We start and stop and go up and down, and we go through these various periods of our own self and of our own soul, and there's constant evolution. Turn to somebody and say, I'm evolving right now. I know you hate breaking it up to talk to somebody. But we all are sort of like E.T. phone home. We miss the stars. We're interested in the constellations. Zodiac, from the Greek word zao. That's the Greek word for life, or zao or zoe. Life, zoology, animations, animals. We all have animal sentient. We all have animations. Sometimes they come to us in dreams, but we miss that. So astral theology is used in the context of the scholarship aiming at the discovery of the original religion. We think that the original religion was astral theology, and out of that has grown other denominations and other expressions and other literature that has guided the way we think. Why are we here is the question. Why are we here? Where did we come from? How did we get to this plane or planette? Who planted us here? How do we get to this dimension? This esoteric measurement. The word esoteric comes from a Greek word that means interior, or that which is in the inside of the soul or inside the self, the inner knowing. Something in you knows that you are where you're supposed to be. You don't know why, but you know that you're here with purpose. You're still trying to figure out what that is. Mark Twain says the 2 most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you realize why. Most of the great shaman and mystics of the ages have answered the question, why are we here with this? We are here because we know something. We don't always believe what we know. We think we know what we believe. But what you know is what your soul or your cells reclaims, recalls, recollects, remembers your dismembered self. That you're not extinct, and you cannot be separated from all that is. You're infinite being. That infinite means without finish. That's the new birth. In my opinion, the new age is the session and season that we live in now, which is bridging divinity with humanity, bridging science and religion, and finding out that it's pretty much the same thing. Science and spirituality, I should say, not science and religion, but science and spirituality. They're all coming together. This right here, everybody that has a cell phone who's afraid of the mark of the beast, you got the mark of the beast. If you got You got a cell phone. Why do they call it cell phone? Why are they Apple products? Why is it the iCloud, which is also mist and mysteries and moisture and water? In the age of Aquarius, which is an air and wind and water sign, and it's the man carrying the pitcher of water, something men didn't do in the ancient world. So where that sign came up is a mystery, because it was always the woman at the well. Men were busy, hunting animals and menacing things, or cutting down menacing animals and something to eat. But the woman went to the well, and that's repeated several times in Scripture. But men will be doing things that are more feminine in this day, and women will be doing things that are more masculine in these days. And there will be a female in the White House, and there will be possibly an openly gay person in the White House. There will be a Muslim in the White House. We never know. But all these things, we got something in there now that we didn't think we were going to have. Something is manifesting in the earth, and it's different. All of this is in preparation for and reparation. Preparation for something that will repair the breach, and we will come together. We will bridge and not wall each other out. That's a sign of what's not going to happen. We will become one with others and recognize the unity and the university, or the universality of all that we are. You are a version, and some type of a vision of the person that you're sitting next to. Universe. One verse, version, or versification of the whole. Wrap your arms around you like this and feel you. Start studying your esoteric self. Pay more attention to your mind. Billy Graham's grandson, Julianne, I think his name is Tavigidan, he describes himself as a husband, a father, an author, a speaker, a sinner, a saint who longs to see broken people encounter God's boundless love. He wrote, "The required cheerfulness that characterizes many of our churches produces a suffocating environment of pat religious answers to the painful, complex questions that riddle the lives of hurting people." He's a young man, bright. He's thinking outside the box like his grandfather was. And I've told you the conversation I had with him about him protesting that he had preached for 50 years and the world had not changed and seemed worse. We had that conversation at the Oklahoma bombing. Over the last 25 years or so, I've been, since I came up with the gospel of inclusion, I have found myself not only asking questions and answering questions, but questioning my answers. The new age is here. It's about bridging science and mathematics and environmentalism or ecology and humans together. It's a new way of thinking. It's a new paradigm. It's a new way of being. The word born again, or the word again, as I've told you, is the Greek word anoth, and the English word another, or ether. This whole idea with cannabis, which may have been evidently in the Garden of Eden, this whole idea of mind-altering, euphoric, transformational, transitional, translucence, going someplace else, hearing things differently, seeing things differently, sensing things differently, is part of a new birth, an ethereal, otherly experience. I've never smoked a joint. I did have a brownie one time in California. And my son said to Daddy, "Just take the corner of it," because somebody bought it for me. I called him, he said, "Take the corner of it." He knows a little bit more about it than I do. I took a little corner. I was packing to get out of there. We had just done the LA opening of the movie. And I remember I didn't like so much what I felt, but I remember the sound was different. I was listening to the Elton John celebration on television. All the singers sounded so good and so clear and so rich. I thought it was the Holy Ghost. I went to speaking in tongues and found out I was cussing. I experienced myself at a different level, and I started embracing myself, and I said, what is it about transcendence or transcendentalism? Sitting in yoga positions and hugging a rock or a tree, or no more neck bones. eating that green stuff. What is it? Kale, yeah. Having more regular colonics and stuff, just Reiki healing, energy healing. We're going to get into all that stuff. We'll have classes on all that stuff. We're going to explore here. We are very curious. The one thing I love about coming to this church and joining my life and many of my friends to it is that there's more curiosity here, less over-certitude. We don't know it all. So we're adventurous. We have more yes than no. No is a boring term. Yes is fascinating and adventurous, exploratory. Live on the edge. If you're not living on the edge, you're probably taking up too much space. Let's go somewhere with this. We're a gathering too, just like the fabulous place being built. That makes us more valuable. When we go downtown, we're going to carry a certain energy and create a certain energy. We're not waiting for somebody to give us a model. We're creating our own model. We're creating our own life, our own system. And I feel a freshness and a connection that I have never felt in all my years in ministry. My crowds are a lot smaller physically, but through the internet, there are tens of thousands who watch and listen and ask questions. I hesitated to go to Detroit just because I'm going to be in church setting with a lot of folks I know. But or used to know, or that know me, but it's a different setting. There's a different warmth now. There's a different curiosity. People are embracing and saying, man, we're so interested. I've been following you, man. I've been following you, man. I've been listening. I've been watching. I don't tell nobody. I don't have a lot of the preachers go, I don't have a theological issue with you, brother. It's a business decision. I got to eat. I have a parsonage and a pension, and if I do your stuff, I won't have none of it. I said, I understand, sir. I understand. But your soul cannot be denied. Something fantastic is happening. Now, shift that energy around. Get those hands up and shift the energy around. Everybody just kind of stir it. Shake those hands. Say, I'm ready for the new. The new age, the new birth, the new way, the new sound. A new creative energy that's flowing through me. I'm not about to retire. I'm ready to refire. I'm ready to get going all over again. My 65 is going to be my 45. I love you. The best is yet to come.
You're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving. So please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed
and be a blessing.